Hello and welcome again to Crush Your Mountain. And I am so thrilled to have with me today an incredible young lady. And I tell you what, I meet amazing people, and it's very rare that I meet amazing people that have reached the heights and that are you might as well say stars in their own galaxy, as it were. And so we're really grateful to have her here. Let me just tell you about Miss Jutta Wohlrab. Okay, not only is she a midwife, okay, but she's a globally renowned midwife, coach, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author with over 41 years of experience guiding more than 3,000 babies into the world and empowering over 10,000 clients. Her passion lies in helping parents to be transform fear into confidence through their signature three-step method that nurtures the body, mind, and soul. She is an NLP practitioner, and if you follow this program, you know that I'm a big fan and proponent of neuro-linguistic programming. It made changes for me, and I know it works for so many individuals. It makes changes with my clients, and I'm just so thrilled to have this global world traveler, this businesswoman, this intellect. And guess what? I just found out she's also an amazing singer as well and artist. So I don't know. We are going to plumb the depths of this incredible young woman, Jutta Wohlrab. Welcome. Guten Morgen. Welcome to Crush Your Mountain.
Well, thank you so much. And I love the welcome, especially that you say young woman. Life is all about happiness, longevity, health on all levels. And thanks so much for this lovely introduction. So, everyone, hello. When you hear my voice, you hear my lovely German accent. But, I'm thrilled to be on this podcast, on this show, because there's so many great things to share. And I love that you are a big fan of NLP, because, of course, so am I. I'm an NLP trainer. And like you, I have used it very much for my own change and transformation, but of course, also for all my clients, at least many of those.
Well, then let's start there. Let's do that. Let's start with the understanding that you made personal transformation and that helps you to help others, because that's basically what I've done. Talk to us about your personal transformation.
Okay, let me talk a bit about what happened to me. I have to say, in general, my mother used to say, Jutta, you were born an optimist. And I have to say, when I look at life and myself, it is true. But even if you are a very optimistic person in life, of course, things happen, unexpected things. That's just, as Tony Robbins says, life doesn't happen to us, it happens for us. Okay, and it's true. So I want to give you a big example from a little later in my life when I was already involved in NLP. Because for me, NLP, hypno, all these things work on one level. But one of the biggest transformations I personally experienced was for sure in 2010, for example. I used to live in Australia. I went back to Germany to look after my old sick parents. And I had a real problem with my work and my finances, not because I didn't have enough work, but it was because the pay was very little. And I felt like a mouse in a wheel, running from 7 in the morning until 10 o'clock at night. And I felt like I cannot really make a proper income. I had such a small turnover. I told my sister literally, I want to kill myself, not because I wanted to kill myself, of
Mm.
course. But I had sleepless nights. How am I going to do my life? How am I going to do all that? And so at this point, I was in the beginning of NLP. I went to see a coach and I told him that I can't sleep anymore. I feel so stressed out. And
Mm.
so we did an NLP session. And what I learned is it's not what is going on, it's how you perceive it and how you deal with it.
Yes.
So to speak, I'm honest. After the session, I was able to sleep. I was able to feel more positive. And what is amazing is shortly after that, I joined a program called The Wealthy Mind. And if you know about NLP and these things, a wealthy mind is not only about money. A wealthy mind is about every level of your body, your partnership, your life, how you feel in life. But for me, it was honestly at this point, I wanted to make a better income. It was the first year that I tripled my yearly turnover without even noticing this turnover. So this is for you a story just on a material level to show you that NLP can work on all levels. But I want to add another story that was, again, very transformative. In 2000, I'm a big time traveler, okay, people? So I've been to the States, I've been to Canada, I've been 15 times to India, 4 times to Nepal, I've been to Africa, places in Europe. I've been all over the place, New Zealand, Japan, and so on. So in 2015, I was newly in love with someone, and to figure out whether that is going to be a good love story or not, I told the guy that I met in India, it was a Frenchman, that I'm happy to come to Nepal, where he was going next. So I took a flight to Nepal, a country that I very much love. But for all of you, just keep the date in mind, the 21st of April, 2015. So we were wanting to go on a motorbike tour up to Mustang, which is in the very, very north of Nepal, high up in the Himalayas. We were just getting ready for our trip when Kathmandu, where we were at the time, was hit by the biggest earthquake ever. So if you know, an earthquake with 7.4 on the Richter scale destroys everything. It was a day that will never be forgotten in Nepal because so many people died, everything was destroyed, and on top, Nepal is a very poor country, so they have very little resources. So I stayed for 2 weeks in Nepal, so much destruction, death, grief, everything around me. I helped as much as I could while I was there, but when I went back after 14 days to Germany, I had a total meltdown. Now, luckily, the year before, I had booked myself on an advanced NLP master training. The topic had been trauma. And so, when I went to my training to Spain, I was sitting in front of 30 people, crying my eyes out and telling them that I felt guilty that I hadn't done more, that I hadn't been digging in the rubble and things like this. On a logical level, can I say I knew it was stupid because I had helped a lot. I'd collected 5,000 euros and given them, I'd done many, many things. But, it has nothing to do with your logical level. Anyway, I learned that with NLP and EMDR and brain spotting, you can release a big trauma in a very short time. So let me say why this is so important. Because after that, I started working even more with women and their partners that had been traumatized, maybe losing a baby, losing many pregnancies, or having a very traumatic, violent birth, things like this, or even other horrible things like rape, abuse, because I work with women like this that are pregnant, and for them it's a very special time. So because I had this happening to myself, can I say, I always tell people, this was the best thing that happened to me, that I was in this earthquake in Nepal, because I learned what trauma feels like, what your brain feels like, how you feel, how frozen you are, and how you can release that. And that's why, sometimes experiencing something can be helpful. So even more. It's a great motto for me to tell people you never ever have to get stuck in trauma. You can change your mind and you can let go of that. Well, that's the first story I wanted to share with you.
Well, that's really a lot to take in, but I'll tell you something. It really speaks to the power of the techniques that build resilience in a person, because that's what it was about. I just got through giving a talk, and one of the things we covered was dealing with stress and why it's important to identify the stress. The things that we could not cover was that oftentimes stress has a specific place in the body that you can point to.
That's it.
Oftentimes you can release it. But now, when you work with individuals on that level, let's just take a case where you have an expecting couple, and one of them or both of them have been through a traumatic experience, Now
Okay.
they're about to have a child which has its own level of trauma to a greater or lesser degree. How do you help them to move past the initial triggering trauma and then cope with the onset of what's about to happen?
Okay, so let me go a little bit broad. I can help them. Sometimes I help them in a group program. I teach my own hypnobirthing, where people don't tell me what their trauma is and what their fear is, what their anxiety is. We work on it on a broad level. But for instance, I want to speak, I can give you an example. For instance, one day I received a call. It was a woman, and she said to me, "Oh, I really need to have a session with you." I said, "Okay, what's going on?" She said, "My name is, I'm 40 years old. I'm a medical doctor. I feel really stupid. I lost a baby last year in the early weeks of the pregnancy. This is now, people think a small trauma. I'm pregnant again, but every time I go to the toilet, I have to check the toilet paper, and I have to go to emergency every week to see if this baby is alive. And I'm only 10 weeks pregnant." So I said to her, "Wow, that sounds stressful." And she felt stupid because she's a medical doctor herself. So I
Mm-hmm.
invited her to come in. I took a one-to-one session with her. After that first session, she rang me and she said, "Jutta, I can go to the toilet without checking the toilet paper all the time." I said, "That's good." And then she came for another session a few days later, and she said to me, "Now I feel so peaceful. I trust my body, I trust the baby, and I can happily wait for a few weeks for the next checkup." Now she was in my care, and she also joined my programs.
Mm-hmm.
And her story actually went on. She had a really good pregnancy, but when she was around her due date, her mother, who was in Berlin for a visit, the mother had a heart condition. The mother almost passed away because of
Mm-hmm.
a problem with her heart. So the mother was admitted to a special unit in the hospital where this client of mine actually was working. So you can imagine you're around your due date and your mother is almost passing. That is a high level of stress because
Yes.
two things are going on: your mom and you yourself. So the woman rang me, she cried into the phone, she told me the story. And so in those days, I would still go to her home because I didn't have my studio yet. So I went to see her again. We did a NLP hypno session to release some stress, some fear, and to focus on what's going on. And the woman birthed her baby very peacefully and very happy 2 days later. And can I say, she always said to me, she will never ever forget the work we've done because it really changed her life. It helped her, and so to speak, for all of you, to reassure you, the mother survived, yeah. And of course, mom and baby were happy. But I want to add another story, okay? Because I have a lot of stories. I worked with a woman who had been sexually abused by her own father for many years since she was a very small young girl.
Mm.
So she stayed at home. Yeah, I know there's some bad stories in the world, but look, it's just matter of fact. And I think in this podcast we just speak about the really bad things. Okay, that's
Well, yeah.
really,
No, the reason why it really resonated with me is because of this report out of France. I don't know if you heard about this gentleman who was just recently convicted for, for decades he had drugged his wife, did stuff with her, but then had other individuals that he got from the internet to
yeah.
do things. And then now come find out her daughter may have had some sort of problem as well from him. So he's convicted. So it's just a terrible thing when I
It's
think about,
terrible. I know.
so
I
how
know.
did you help this woman that you were talking
Okay,
about?
so let me just explain. The woman stayed at home because she had a younger brother and she wanted to protect her brother. Of course, she had done therapy. Now she was in her mid-30s, happily married to a very nice man. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, "Look, my biggest worry is that if ever I go to the birth and something goes wrong, there will be only men, an anesthetist, a male doctor." I mean, she had a midwife, a private midwife, but of course, and I said to her, "Okay, we're going to work on that and we release a lot of things." I mean, we worked 7 sessions because also in that time she was going to get married to her partner. And for some reason, she invited both of her parents. even that, it was the violator to the marriage. Anyway, to the wedding. So I worked with her, and here is the story. And that really brought me to tears because when she gave birth, on that day, there was a lot of complications. And she said to me, I was lying there and I was thinking, oh, what am I supposed to do? And then she said, Jutta. And then I remembered all the work we had done. So I told my midwife, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to move my body. So she empowered herself. So her birth finally was really good. So she birthed her baby while standing, but she had a tear, and this tear was bleeding very much. And as the universe wants, on that day, it was only male doctors that were on duty. Yeah, even the anesthetist, a man, the gynecologist, a man, and. But I said to her, look, we have to prepare for that because sometimes those things happen. Keep the story short. She sent me a message saying, look, can I say, I said to the first consultant, of course, who knew her story, you are the first man that is allowed to examine me. And then afterwards, she said, Jutta, I want to say, because of what happened, and it was only men there on that day, it actually gave me a lot of healing because I was so well prepared and all those men were so respectful that, I could really change my inner concept. And that was one of the most healing stories for myself. So I have to say, and it's the power of the mindset and the power of empowering yourself, to always be in how can I say, in a positive mindset about yourself and understanding your choices, but also really there is more about you than just being the victim. There is more about you of just being like, oh no, I can't speak up. You always have a voice. You just have to unleash your inner self. Yeah.
That's so amazing and so very true. So, I was curious, you've had experiences of dealing with so many cultures around the world on so many different levels. Now, tell me something. How has your knowledge and understanding of the diverse cultures of this planet shaped your working with clients and even your understanding of neuro-linguistic programming?
Oh, great question. Yeah. So can I say, first of all, I've learned that all those methods work for everyone. It doesn't matter whether you come from Africa, whether you're from Indonesia, Egypt, from the US, Australia. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, even Japan. But I've learned, of course, the way you approach people is a bit different because all cultures are different. Say, in some cultures, you cover up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not appropriate to speak about the problem. But of course, if you are a respectable person, which I am, and even that you called me young, of course, I tell people, look, I've been in the business for 41 years. Trust me. And I didn't start my training when I was 5 years old. So, of course, I'm in my 60s. So I tell people, look, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It is safe. You can tell me what is going on. However, my old teacher used to say some secrets are so big you can't speak about them because it's too painful. So I always tell people, if it's too big and too painful, or you are too ashamed to speak about it, it doesn't matter. We can still work on it, even undercover. I call it undercover work. Even if I don't know what we're working on, I can see, through visual cues, changes in your face, that it's working or not working. And so that's what I love about the work, because, it's true. Sometimes we are so ashamed of something that happened in our life or something we maybe even did ourselves that we feel like we can't speak about it. And I love for this reason NLP, yeah, because you can work undercover and you don't even have to know it. And that's it. And so, I've learned from all the different cultures that we're all the same. We all want the same thing. We all want a roof on top of our head. We want to earn some money. We want a bit of love. We want some friends, community. We want some health, some fun. Yeah. So in a way, we're all the same, no matter where we're from. And that's it. And I can help people no matter where they're from.
So tell us this, you have a blueprint for birth. And indeed, strangely enough, human beings are the only creatures on the planet that seem to make giving birth such a complication. Tell us about your blueprint.
The blueprint, of course, is in a way, I made it very simple to understand. To be able to give birth in a time where birth really looks more like a Hollywood drama, like that. And people are so full of fear because there's an information overload. First of all, I educate people about how birth really works. So this is not the stages of labor. No one is interested in that. I'm interested in what makes the stages of labor actually happen. So I talk about the brain, neurobiology, hormones. Yeah, that's the very first thing, because that's where everything starts, in this little gray mass between your ears. Okay. Then I will tell them about how to use their body effectively. And if you ever have heard about a man called Peter Levine, Peter Levine is the founder of Somatic Experience. So, it's like everything is in the body. So we want to release stress. We want to enhance the body. But of course, we also want to do very clearly simple exercises that help our baby to be well aligned. And the third thing, of course, is your mindset. So you need to have good mind methods and techniques that allow you to create a good goal and know how to reach your goal. Because stress, fear, anxiety, doubt are counterproductive to the hormones that you produce when giving birth. And it's true, humans are the only ones that make it so complicated, but also we are the ones that can make it so beautiful. It has both ends of the spectrum. We are the ones that can create choices, whether it's pizza, a green smoothie, or something, whether it's I do a home birth or I go to a big hospital, whether I sing my baby out or whether I take a lot of drugs, all those things, yeah. We can make choices, but it's about learning how to stay focused, free of fear, and to know how to deal with it. So I teach people how to minimize pain, things like this. But the 3 steps are really like the theory, the body, and the mind. And of course, you can add into each thing that, your spiritual belief might be part of it. Because, there was a study, for instance, that of course prayers can help. And I don't care whether you pray because you're Catholic or Orthodox or you're Hindu or you're Muslim, prayer is prayer. If you feel like that helps you to connect with a higher source, fine with me.
That's understandable. I'll tell you, dealing with the individuals, meeting them on their level, helping them to rise above the trauma and the pain and the struggles, as well as the fear, is pretty much what the system of neuro-linguistic programming is all about. And this is not a program trying to sell Tony Robbins or neuro-linguistic programming, but it's just a powerful tool. That said, though, I want to pivot to something that I know that a lot of my one of my clients, but also many of my watchers and viewers and listeners are dealing with, and that's type 2 diabetes. Dealing with that, I always teach them that type 2 diabetes or any health condition, the first actual step is not the diet and it's not the medicine, it is the mindset. That's the whole premise behind Crush Your Mountain, to understand that this is something that you don't have to have the mindset of just enduring it and just dealing with it, but with the mindset of being determined to do what you can to bring it down and reverse it, and if at all possible, keep it at bay forever. So utilizing that concept, how does something like NLP come into play? And I know the answer, but I want to hear your beautiful perspective.
That is great. And you know why? Can I just even that, I talk about pregnancy. Can I just say one thing? Okay, let me go a little bit wider in the loop. For instance, if women in the pregnancy eat a lot of sugary foods, hidden sugary foods, sweets, unhealthy diet, the amniotic fluid is full with sugar, and the unborn baby is prone to have diabetes too later in when they're born. Yeah. Even maybe later as teenager or adults. So already in the beginning, that's why your question is fantastic, because I love good health. I really am, and it works on all levels. So why the mindset is so important? No matter whether you got diabetes too later in life or in the middle of the life, there's usually a key in that, because diabetes in general is always one thing. It's what you eat, when you eat, how you exercise, when you exercise, how much, how you relax. Do you really relax? And Netflix is not relaxing. That's just chill out time. Relaxation is a deep inner process. How is your sleep? How do you sleep? But all those things are connected. But to get through a good system and to change things in life, you have to have the right mindset. Now, when you have diabetes type 2, of course, there is something that hasn't gone quite right in your life, whether it's your stress level, your diet, this and that. And to be able to be motivated to do something for yourself, because sometimes that's the hardest. It's often much easier to feel like to do something for someone else. But look, when you start doing things for yourself and you improve and you keep on going, that should be the biggest reward for yourself. Because if there's an old saying, if you don't know how to care for yourself, how can you care for somebody else? What is the reason behind that? So, NLP can help you to stay motivated and to really do things that you need to do. So you understand, that's why I love the right mindset. The mindset is learn how to love yourself, learn how to motivate yourself, and learn how to take better choices and to really feel good about it. There is nothing good about eating chocolate, junk food, yeah, and still people do it because there's this lazy part, or this part, not lazy, there's this part that says, it's not helping anyway. I might as well just eat this package of crisp, this crispy chicken, whatever. But I think it's a misconcept in yourself. And when you are able to learn how to motivate yourself and you feel like, hey, I reward myself because I've been doing 30 minutes of exercise. I've been eating healthy. I've been sleeping better. Yeah, when you get your bum off the couch, it is awesome. And NLP can help you to motivate yourself. Without the right mindset, you're not going to do it. That's why every athlete, let me give you a story, can I? I forgot his name. There was a
Absolutely.
runner in
Yes.
the 50s who won gold. What's his name? It was in England, I think. And the thing was, it wasn't that he crushed the world record. When people thought no one can run faster than this, he crushed the world. Richard Bannister was his name. Now I got his name.
Oh, the
Sorry.
4 minute mile man.
Yeah, but the thing was, what he did is he didn't change his shoes. He didn't change the way he trained himself. But you know what it was? He changed something in his mindset. And the most amazing thing about that story is not that Richard Bannister actually crushed the world record. More interesting is that 6 months later, a lot of other athletes really crushed the world record as well. And so it teaches us when the mind is set in the right direction, wow, so much more is possible for all of us, for all of you.
So the idea is basically having the understanding that it can be done,
Oh, yeah.
irrespective of what the circumstances are. And I'll tell you again, I tell this story all the time with when I went to the doctor and I met with him and he says, you got type 2 diabetes, you're going to have to take insulin and you just, and I said, no. He says, well, hey, look, it's hereditary. You can't do anything about it. You're just going to have to live with it, but we can do what we can to take care of you. I said, no, I'll tell you what, I'm going to be off of it. I'm not going to take it, and I'm going to reverse it. He didn't believe me, but give it 6 months, and he's sitting there looking at everything else. Well, I can't explain it, but your numbers aren't consistent with somebody who has type 2 diabetes. So he was able to say that. And when I go in there, you know how our system here is, they give you 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and then they're gone. If I say, no, I need to talk to you about something, he stops and he'll sit down and he says, yes, sir, what can I do? Because we have that relationship. You see, the challenge is that many times, I will not say that Americans are lazy. Americans are good people and hardworking people. I tend to be American. I was born here, so I know, and I see them every day. I work among them, and I love them. And then there are those who come to this country and become American citizens, and they work even harder, work and just as hard. The challenge is, though, here we are living in a society that is designed for people to be deluded into helplessness.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
we have the pharmaceutical companies which influence individuals, the food industry that gives individuals seed oils, and you're made to believe that this is acceptable. Just a few months ago, one of the major food companies, cereal companies, actually was promoting cereal for dinner in this country. Okay, that's and that's inconceivably insane, and so we have to understand that when people buy into that, that's what puts them in the state of let's just call it a health deficit. And so,
Absolutely. I
so
agree.
they have to move. It's all about taking control of your mind and what goes into your mind first. That the diet of the mind is important, most important, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. And then, of course, everything else follows. Because then, when you talk about diabetes, and I work with diabetic women, and I tell them exactly the same as I told you, the right mindset. But then, for my opinion, still everything else has to follow, whether it's exercise, learning. Foods, for instance, are in connection with your sleep. Yeah. And when you sleep better, you feel better, you have more
Yes.
energy. Yeah. And when you eat the right food, of course, it again brings up your energy, you feel better. For me, it's like a big pyramid. Everything is connected. But without the right mindset, you're not going to do it right. You're not going to get up and learn about which food is really good. That, of course, all this ready-made food, all those ready-made cereals are full with white sugar, and sugar is as addictive as cocaine. So, people
Yes.
stay away from it. Yeah. And that, of course, there's a lot of things I could talk about food, of course, and there's fantastic sources where you can get good information. Healthy diet doesn't mean expensive diet. Healthy diet is often, well, when you look at the cost of getting sick or having diabetes, yeah,
Mhm.
when you look at what this is going to cost you, it's going to cost you your health, your life, maybe even your limbs. Yeah, maybe the lifespan that you have, your energy, and you feel like you're not free to do what you like to do. So I like to be free, and I think that's important. And good health, when you're in good health, you can work for a long time. Can I give an example? I have a yoga teacher. I had a yoga teacher. She taught me a specific yoga called hormone yoga therapy. And she was 86 years old. That was in 2010. And she would fly from Brazil to Europe every year to
Wow.
teach all over Europe with 86. And she was not on a what do you call it?
Walker.
She was not on a walker.
Mm.
My hypnosis teacher was 84 when I trained with him in 2005. He was so enthusiastic. He was in the UK. So you understand, I don't believe that age means you need a walker or you have to rest all the time. I think it's a misconcept of what people teach you. Okay, I think you can be very active, super healthy. You have a brain that is fit, and you can still go dancing, singing, meeting people, teaching people, doing lots of great things. But for this, you have to really be healthy. So, you have to and you have to work. Health is your own responsibility, no matter which system. I know I've been a few times to the States. I've seen that people are very obese and people eat a lot of junk food because it's cheap and they think it's okay and it's promoted, and drinking a whole liter of Coke is just, oh God, it does my head in. People stay away from that stuff. It's everything but not healthy. Yeah. And so, yeah, I agree. So you have to have the mindset to love yourself, because when you love yourself, I mean, for me, can I say one thing? Our body is like the biggest villa or like a Lamborghini or like the most expensive car you can think of. If I would give you a villa or an expensive car and I would say, this is the only car you can ever have in your whole life, would you not shine it, look after it? You would never ever put cheap fuel or oil into it, right? Because you would think, oh, I'll keep it running, running, running every day. But people treat their own bodies as if it is like, what is that, you know? And so people have to understand you are your body and your body is you. You are like friends, you're working together. And so, yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. You know, that's so very true. You know, I was just sharing with this one group that I was teaching earlier today that there is a concept that says no man ever hated his own body, but he feeds and cherishes it. And the idea that is, I guess the way Tony Robbins would say it, that is from a good book called The Good Book. But the idea is that it is understood for thousands of years that the natural inclination is to take care of ourselves. You see, so here's what I'd like to ask you, though. You know, you have this mantra in your business, in your space, that you say, and I wanted you to expound on that because I like pizza. Okay, and you like to say pizza and parcels should be delivered, but babies should be born. So now help us to understand that, because here in the States, people are often thinking about babies being delivered. And I haven't seen Amazon bring one yet, and I'm grateful that that hasn't happened. Talk to us.
I can tell you one thing. Okay, when I say pizza should be delivered, babies should be born, first of all, think about the power of language. Yeah. Okay, I'll give it a little bit the wider picture. Okay, in the world, we're looking at 30 to 80% of a C-section rate, one thing. And I'm not against C-section, but it should be 11 to 15% because it does a lot to the woman and to the baby. But when I say baby should be born, I want women and their partners to feel empowered. Instead of lying there and someone is doing something, I want you to get into action yourself, into not control, because you can't control life. But when you hear when I say to you, your baby is being delivered or you give birth, you already hear the power of the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
One is active and one is passive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we want to use the power of language. And for me, I promote, of course, better choices for the birth, because pregnancy and birth will shape how someone's life is afterwards. People have to understand everything you do in your pregnancy, everything that happens at the birth will have an impact on how you feel about yourself, your partnership, your own health on all levels, your finances, the bonding with the baby, but also has an impact on how the baby is going to, you know, start its own life. And so that's why I say that pizza is delivered, but babies should be born. So it should be a process where I would say everyone is positively involved and knows how to take better choices and to be part of the process and not just lying there, do something for me or something is done. That's the deeper sense of that sentence.
You said that that C-sections should be reduced, or the rates of C-sections should be reduced. So now I think that's an amazing statement and very insightful. And of course, I would expect no less. However, let's expound on that a little bit. What is the advantage of natural birth through the birth canal to the baby? Because we want the child to have the best start in life. Every child deserves that. Talk to us about why that is so vital.
Okay, so first of all, if Mom Nature would have thought we need a zipper, she would have placed one there. And you know, when you are born naturally, really naturally, certain parts of the brain, because there's a bit of pressure on the brain, will kind of get a kickstart. That's one thing. Secondly, there is something called the microbiome, and the microbiome is in everybody's mouth and in everybody's gut. Now, you have to understand the gut is your immune system. It's the place where really your immune system is mainly located, nowhere else. But to have good gut health, for instance, when you're born, you swallow a bit of mucus and bacteria that are in the birth canal. And that will actually bring a unique matrix of gut health into the baby's gut. Because if you would take a stool sample of a grandmother, a mother, and the children, you would see, if they were born naturally, that they all have the same type of bacteria, the same amount of groups of bacteria. And that's why when you're born with a C-section, you do not swallow that mucus. So you lack actually a good amount of healthy bacteria that would settle in your gut. Now, some of us will need a C-section, 11 to 15% for various reasons. And they should not be sad because, of course, there's things you can do, but it takes more time. Breastfeeding is good for that. But however, your gut health, also when we talk about later on diabetes, even depression, many things are in relation to the gut. And you know, people have been researching gut health. I've been promoting gut health for 30 years. But you know, now there is more and more research coming. And I think it's very interesting that even things like depression are related to our gut health. Isn't that
Yes,
amazing?
yes, yes. Well, again, working with one particular client of mine over the course of a few years, actually, we actually came to that discovery. And as soon as they go off of their food and they start engaging in higher levels of sugar that feed the bad bacteria, well, what happens? The depression gets worse. And then have you heard about the work of oh, what is that doctor's name? Oh, I just forgot the name of the doctor, but he has an excellent book out called no, Dr. Christopher Palmer, a great book called Brain Energy, and he discusses how one of his clients, he's a psychiatrist by trade, and he is one of his clients was severely schizophrenic, and but saw him and wanted to go on this keto diet because he was severely overweight and he wanted to start dating. So the doctor says, hey, go ahead. As he started the diet, some interesting things happened. He lost the weight and he came back. He says, well, you know, I'm losing weight. I lost a lot of weight and I'm feeling better. But you know how I used to think that people were planting thoughts into my head and trying to control control my brain. You know, I don't think that anymore. It's in fact that seems kind of crazy to think so. And he comes back somewhere later on and says, you know how I used to how I was hearing voices and having those hallucinations? They're beginning to go away. And so it turns out that he changed his diet to the keto diet. Now, I'm not endorsing that particular diet. I think all diets have their merits and their uses and tools. But in his case, changing that to a healthier food intake actually caused a lot of his issues to go away. And one of my
Can I
other,
say,
yes, please.
all means, you know, in Chinese medicine, in Ayurveda, they will always say food is medicine. You know, of course, what you feed your body has an effect, whether you feel sluggish, whether you feel bad, whether you suddenly feel like, I crave more of that. You know, I mean, when you crave something constantly, it's like an addiction. It shows you, no good. So, you know, wow, there's a number of people that work in connection with, you know, brain and food and things. Yeah, and I think that's most wonderful, amazing story. And I believe it straight away. Absolutely.
I'll tell
Amazing.
you a personal experience. I had a young fellow, and I've known him since he was 8 years old. When I met him, he was on, at 8 years old, 5 different medications.
Eight
And
years.
yes, 8 years old. And here's what happened though. Over the years, at that age, he was literally running into the street to kill himself. Okay, of course, we stopped him several times. And as time has gone on, he went from suicidal to homicidal. But of his own volition, he refused to take his medications. Now, here's what's interesting. He lost all the way. At 16, he was well over 200 pounds.
Wow.
He dropped down to 100 and about 190 pounds, and he's a tall fellow, so that was a good weight for him. Now he's on one medication, that he actually needs. But he's healthier, he's more stable, and he's able to at least manage his life a little bit better. Actually, much better because he can live on his own. So,
Great.
I need to work with him a little bit more and kind of help with his thinking and shift that a bit. But that's all that comes to time. He's made tremendous progress. That just speaks about things and what happens with the microbiome and how the food itself affects our thinking, our depression, our way of being. But now you have so many things. We haven't even begun to plumb the depths of 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 the universe that is Jutta Wohlrab. You're certainly an incredible, amazing person, and I'm just thrilled. Tell us about your book.
Oh, my book. Well, I show my book shamelessly.
Show your book shamelessly.
Well, it's of course about giving birth, you know. I mean, I have a few more books in my inner library, which I'm going to write, but happy birthing days. I want to give you a little story about the book. First of all, I had to promise to an audience that I would write a book about how to give birth. This was, you know, some years back. And so I started writing my book. It took a bit of time because it's not so easy to write a book in English, but I want to give you a story about the book. It's about different techniques from body to mind, how to give birth. It has lots of good stories to take away the fear. But one thing, a story that really I think is interesting is one day someone contacted me through Instagram and she said, "Hello, Frau Jutta. My name is I am from Jordan and I'm new to Germany. I'm pregnant. And I got so scared when I understood I'm pregnant that I was thinking about aborting the baby because I'm so scared. I felt so sorry for the woman because I thought, God, what must be going on that you're so scared? Anyway, but then she said to me, I found your Instagram and I found your book. And I read your book in just one day, and it gave me so much hope. I wrote back to her, said, look, if you need my help, I'm happy to help you. But you know, for some reason, she never got back to me. Many months later, I receive another message. Hello, Frau Jutta. This is again. I just want to say, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I read your book many times, and you are, well, because of you, I gave birth naturally to a very large baby, big smiley. And she said, I don't know how to thank you and thank you and thank you and thank you. And I thought it was so amazing. So, you know, I made a post saying a book can change the world. Yeah. Sometimes a book can really do something. And so, you know, if you are pregnant or you know someone pregnant, the book, of course, can I say that is available on Amazon. It's called Happy Birthing Days, a midwife's secret to a joyful, safe, and happy birth. It's available as a paperback, as a Kindle, and as an audiobook with my own voice. And it really is a book that, you know, will be very good for the next 20 years to help pregnant women and their partners to have a better experience. Of course, it's a book. It doesn't talk to you, but it already is part of my three step system. It explains the three steps, and I think it's a great book.
Wow.
I'm
Now,
biased.
now you have a couple of companies that you founded, foundations, and you're dealing with other startups. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, okay. One thing is, of course, Elements of Birth. Elements of Birth is my work, my start actually, where I work with almost everyone. And that is, you know, really about my midwifery work. It implements everything, hypnobirthing, yoga, this and that.
Mhm.
And Fabulous 9 is my premium program, I really have to say. This is aiming for busy professional pregnant women and their partners that really have little time, that need to go back to work, because we have to understand one thing. Is it different whether you are maybe an employee or whatever, a student? But when you run your business is usually your first baby. When you run your own business and you're pregnant, you're not gonna lie on the couch for 1 year after the birth, because you know that's usually not so good for your own business. And when you run a business, this is usually also how you make your income. It's a big stress point when you fall pregnant because you think, how am I going to manage all of that? Being pregnant, getting ready, my partner, the baby, myself, the business. So it goes round and round in circles. And like in the US, you have to return very quickly to your work, no matter who you are. And that I think is a big stress point. So that's why I created Fabulous 9, which is a program for professional women and their partners. It's a 12-week program, how to really tackle all those things, time management, the impact everything has on your finances, your partnership, your bonding, your self-image. And why? And that's why I think you need to have a positive birth experience, because it can create the biggest resource in your life. I had an entrepreneur, a pregnant entrepreneur, a mother of 4, who was my client. She found me in her 4th pregnancy. She always said, God, Jutta, I wish I would have found you in my first one. Because she said, she's German, of course. We have a little bit more time for everything. But she said, my first baby was born. After 3 weeks, I was back on stage. She said, it was all right, but it wasn't really the greatest thing. And I wasn't very well prepared for that whole time. I said, yeah. And she said, my second baby, I gave myself a little bit more air to breathe and more time to reflect on, being a mom, a mother of 2. And so now she's a mom of 4. And I think, um, for women that run their own business or that are like high achievers that have a lot of pressure, say if you work in a big company, the pressure is full on, the performance pressure. You want to have the right body, mind system to really go as strong, healthy, energetic through the time, and to really know how to deal with all of that and be best prepared. So these are the programs I'm running. And of course, I still offer, one-to-one sessions to people for trauma. I mean, even I had husbands that said to me, we're pregnant. My wife wants me to stop smoking. Even something that is not simple, because, if you have been smoking for a long time, you suddenly feel someone takes your favorite toy away.
Mm.
And just to say, to be quite open, I used to smoke, yeah, even that I'm such a healthy person. I smoked from like when I was a teenager, I started smoking. I smoked until I was 40 years old. I tried to quit smoking at 30, but I only tried. And then I was a big stress point and I started smoking again. Even that I was already into healthy diet, exercise, all of it. And when I turned 40, I lived in New Zealand. I thought, what are the 40s about? About freedom. Come on, Jutta, honest to yourself. Freedom means certainly that you do not have to go to the shop, buy cigarettes or tobacco just because you're afraid you're running out of it. So when I turned 40, I decided, okay, that's it. The 40s are about quitting smoking. And to be honest, I lived in a small place called Wellington in New Zealand. That's the capital, but it's the 3rd biggest town. It had, it's very small. New Zealand has 4.1 million people living
Yep.
there when I lived there.
Small place.
So anyway, I found a man who was working with hypnosis, and I thought, all right, I had to really save money for that. Yeah, because I didn't have $600, but I did it. And with the first session, I stopped smoking. And that was, something, again, a big game changer in my life. It showed me everything is possible with the right mindset. So
Yes.
that's it.
Wow. That's amazing. You're just an incredible individual. You are an international renowned traveler. You are an author. You're a singer. You have tremendous abilities and insights. And that's all these things are come together in this one beautiful person. And so we're really grateful to have you with us. I have one more question that I
Okay.
ask all my guests, and I want to thank you so very much for taking the time in Germany, and I hope you enjoy the beautiful morning, the rest of the morning. But I want to ask you this particular question, and I'm curious as to your insights. Jutta Wohlrab, what does it mean to you to crush your mountain?
In one sentence, it means to have a fulfilled, happy life, to overcome all obstacles. And even when I'm sometimes feeling like, gosh, I'm down on my knees because something happens, to always be able to stand up and really to overcome those things and to be able to share a bit of this spark to all the people around me in all kinds of ways. This is really to crush the mountain for me.
That's incredible. That is incredible. It's the one to actually always give and always be giving. That's beautiful. So with that, I normally end with, my famous saying, don't just climb your mountain, crush through it. But I'm also going to say, hey, Jutta, danke schön. Would you want to sing a couple of bars on the way out?
Okay. Come together right now and here. That's it. Yeah. And we all have a happy day, a happy day. And that's it. It was a happy day. And I'm so grateful that I was invited as a guest. Yeah.
Well, you have certainly made my day happy. And those are so many individuals that have listened to us today and watched us today. Again, this is not the end, friends. We're going to probably have her back on, and we'll probably do a collaboration sometime in the future. But in the meantime, as I always say, don't just climb your mountain, crush through it. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Clearly.